Want me to spell it out for you? F-R-I-N-D-S. Haven't I made it obvious?
Hey!
Welcome back!
We are here again to discuss maintaining relationships.
Week 2.
Whoop, whoop.
In this week we are going to be talking a little bit more about listening and feedback, whereas last week we covered decision making. But this week is more about after you make those decisions, what it looks like to maintain those relationships that you are now
Invested in.
Yeah. And so first, Tommy and I actually want to share a little bit about our own experience, about what it looks like in listening to friends, groups of people, and
hearing each other.
Yeah.
And how that is actually so vital for relationships that I think we often forget that to maintain those close relationships, listening is a huge part.
Yeah, totally. And like even we discussed last week, listening can have such a vital part, but it can be so hard because of like the world that we're growing up in with social media, and there's just so many distractions around us. And so a little experience that I wanted to share was with a roommate of mine currently. Hopefully she doesn't see this video. But just that even we'll come home at the end of the day and, she'll ask, hey, how are you? And I'll say, oh, I had a pretty rough day. And she'll sit down and act like she's going to listen and then just get on her phone. And I'll be talking and she'll just be, which is hard. And that's, that doesn't make me want to trust her very much. Doesn't make me want to share. Yeah. So
if you can relate, that's where we're kind of going, is the idea that listening is not really important or as we think, but it really is.
Yeah, it's a huge part of relationships. So I first just wanted to share a little bit from Galvin's book again. This is chapter 7, Helpful Listening and Responding. She shares that too often, as listeners, we spend our listening time creating our messages rather than concentrating on the content and intent of the other's message. So this is huge. Just to be able to pay attention to what the other person is saying, really care for them. Not thinking about like, oh, how am I going to respond, or what's going on my phone, or like what are other people doing or whatever. Just to actually be caring and listening towards the other person.
A really important part to that is the idea that Corey Floyd has in his article on empathic listening, which is as an expression of interpersonal affection. So ultimately what he says is listening is an act of affection. It is it conveys that you care for one another, you love that person, and you just show fondness over them. And so it's just, it's huge on how we show affection to our loved ones. To maintain that relationship, we have to listen. That's a huge component of how we show our care, our love, and our fondness, like Corey Floyd says.
Yeah, and so as we are creating new relationships, after you find out what you really value, what's really important to you, we just need to keep in mind the listening aspect and the feedback that we are giving and that people are giving to us. It's so much easier to have confrontation and discuss things that matter to you when you're conversing about things that are valuable to both of you. And so from chapter 6, same book by Galvin, Listening and Feedback, the other half of communication, we see Thomas Harris and John Sherblum quote this. They say, the most effective feedback should indicate to the sender that we are listening to the content of the message, interpreting it accurately, and understand it. We believe that once you have people that really value the same things as you do and care about the same things, that feedback and hard conversations should be vital. And it's almost
easy.
Like holding each other accountable, and just caring for one another, looking out for one another. And it goes both ways, being able to be open, share your feedback, and mean it out of a loving way.
And it's easier to then listen, to accept that feedback. And overall, it just helps establish a good relationship.
And maintain a good relationship.
As young adults. So, I hope you took something from this blog on listening and accepting feedback.
Yeah, next week we will be discussing forgiveness and staying positive, what that looks like, and how that can play a big part in maintaining relationships as well.
Stay tuned.
Bye.